Hi, I'm Denise Lescano. I am a professional spirit medium and intuitive consultant. I also am a teacher and author of the book, The Messenger. So the question has been asked, what does it mean to be on a spiritual path? Well, I will say this. You do not have to be on a spiritual path to be on a spiritual path. Everything about your life is a spiritual path. Life itself on planet Earth in physical existence is a spiritual path. We choose to come here. We plan to come here, and we plan that with all the loved ones in our lives who are our teachers and who we sometimes teach. And every experience that you're involved in your life is a spiritual experience. The people that are in your workplace, the experience that you may have in your family relationships, experiences you have with illnesses, and believe it or not, even an experience like going to war, being a soldier in the war. That is actually a spiritual experience. Spiritual people don't tend to think of war because it's violent as a spiritual experience. But when you think about it, the act of being in war gives all the souls that volunteer to go to war an opportunity to practice human characteristics such as courage and valor and to be heroic. And we learn a lot of things in the most difficult experiences of life in the physical and life on earth. So you don't have to necessarily be on a religious path or a chosen spiritual path. What I like to tell people is what you really are obligated to do is try to learn from the experiences that you're in and try to do a little bit better as a human being every day than you did the day before. If you're doing that, then you are on a spiritual experience. As a professional spirit medium, I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations that deal with sudden death and suicide, drug overdoses, even instances like domestic violence and homicide. And I am constantly working with families that have lost loved ones in very sudden and very tragic, traumatic circumstances. And I work with people from all walks of life, from low income to very wealthy, people in the United States and people in Japan. I work with Christians, I work with Buddhists, I've even worked with atheists. It doesn't matter what religion you practice. Even though religion would like you to believe that theirs is the right one, the way it's been explained to me by Spirit is every religious path holds a piece of the bigger truth, but no one path holds all of the truth. So every spiritual path in itself has lessons to learn. And all a spiritual path is, a conscious religious path or a chosen spiritual belief or a pursuit to become more aware or enlightened, what that really is basically a spiritual discipline. It's your discipline every day of focusing your intention and your mind and your thoughts on improving. And what Spirit has always told me personally in my life is to find a spiritual practice that suits your temperament and try to practice it every day if you can. I came from a very, very strict religious upbringing. I am not a religious person myself because being a medium and working with people from all around the world, of all cultures, of all religious backgrounds, of all economic backgrounds, all races, everything, I don't find that there's one religion that I can fit everything I know as a spirit medium into that one belief system. I find little truths in all the belief systems. So if you choose a religious path or a spiritual path or a real conscious type of learning, that's great. And it's great for you, but just know that your path might be different than someone else's. And everybody's path is totally different. And you have to imagine that Earth is just a giant school. It's for our souls, metaphorically, like going away to college for 4 years. And we choose to come here, and we choose where we're going to be born, and we choose who our parents are. We choose many of the life experiences that we'll be involved in. But what we come here to learn is through our choice, through free will, and through our choices, We create different outcomes, which create new classrooms while we're here in life. And it's all spiritual. Believe it or not, drug addiction can be a spiritual experience. Someone who is spending their life in prison can be having a spiritual journey. It's all a spiritual journey. The only time it's not a spiritual journey really is if you are very, very much in denial and avoiding some of the important things that your soul needs to work on here in life. I think denial is probably the biggest obstacle to spiritual evolution. And the ego, not wanting to really be honest, soul search and look at ourselves. Every one of us needs room for improvement. We often tend to focus on what's wrong with everyone else around us. And that's a great way to avoid looking what's really wrong with us. And what I've come to realize through so many readings, thousands of people, is that through our relationships, through the people that are in our lives, we confront ourselves. So every person in your life, whether it's your spouse or your children or your parent or even your coworkers, they're actually reflecting back to you aspects of yourself that may need improvement if there's conflict. We are actually attracted to people whose flaws and weaknesses trigger our own flaws and weaknesses. And it's a way that we show ourselves the things that we need to work on. So when you think of life that way as a giant school and a learning experience, you can drop the mentality of being a victim. There's no victims here. There truly aren't, because we volunteer to come to life on earth. We come here knowing that this is basically like spiritual boot camp. It is a battleground. And we don't come here to necessarily cure all the world's problems, because through those problems is how we grow. I know this because I work with so many people that are in the deepest, darkest moments of their life, losing a loved one tragically or suddenly, losing a child. I work with a lot of mothers that lose children. There's nothing worse in this world than that kind of pain. And people ask me all the time, how can you do that? How can you do that work day in and day out? It must be so difficult, so draining. And I have to tell you, it's not. I love what I do because I always step in a healing capacity. So for me, I'm coming in to try to uplift the situation. But I learn so much from the people that I work with. And what I learn is I see souls that are in the darkest moments of their life, some of them even feeling suicidal. And I get the opportunity to watch them rise above and overcome difficulties, trauma, victimization in their life. And when they do it, they become so empowered and so much stronger and so much more aware. You know, without the darkness, we could never appreciate the light. Without being hungry, we would never appreciate our bellies being full. Without being lonely, we might not appreciate the people that really love us in our lives. And the thing is when we are at home, which is our spiritual home, which you want to maybe call heaven, when we're at home, the only thing that exists for us there is unconditional love, compassion, and forgiveness. Don't believe any religion that tells you any different. We are only surrounded by love when we leave this life, and healing. But when we are only surrounded by love and support and goodness, it's a lot more difficult to grow. Think of in your own life. When everything is wonderful and everything is perfect, we can become sometimes apathetic, maybe lazy, maybe overconfident. Our ego might get a little bit big. It's only through difficulty and suffering and trial that we really have to grow. And I don't look at things in terms of good or bad like most people do. I look at everything as an opportunity to learn, everything as an opportunity to grow. My own life is not perfect. I write about it in my book. There were a lot of very difficult, lonely parts of my own journey. And, now I get to help other people and share what I've learned. And people tell me that sometimes they're even inspired by my story. For me, that's wonderful because it vindicates the difficulties in my own spiritual journey. But just remember, whatever journey you're on, all you have to do is just, show up, participate in your life, try to do a little bit better every day than you did the day before. Try to become more compassionate, forgiving, and loving. Those are the three things that every major religion around the world teaches. Every great spiritual religious teacher taught the lessons of unconditional love, compassion, and forgiveness. They're universal. They're the three biggest reasons that we all come here to learn. And the answer to every problem in everybody's life around the world lies in one of those three things. All the other little things we're learning, the politics in our office, the difficulties we have in our family relationships, the financial stresses we go through, all of those other things, illness, those are all things that are just designed to teach us little smaller lessons. So just remember, whatever you do in life is your spiritual journey.